Hi there, it's me Finn, and tonight we're gonna talk about the weird sleep habits of medieval people. You won't believe some of the things they did before bedtime. People in those days didn't just lie down and fall asleep like we do now. They had very different ways of sleeping, dreaming, and resting. Imagine sleeping in 2 shifts during the night, or sharing a bed with strangers at an inn, or using herbs and warm bricks to keep the chill away. The world was quieter, darker, and filled with all sorts of bedtime customs you might never expect. So, let's start by subscribing. Let me take you back now, way back, to a time when there were no electric lights, no clocks, just stars in the sky, the glow of the fire, and the slow breathing of the people around you. Close your eyes. It's nighttime in a small medieval village. The roofs are made of straw. The walls are of wood or stone, or even clay packed tight with straw and mud. The wind whispers through the cracks. A faint orange light glows from behind shutters. Somewhere, a dog barks once and then stops. The world is quiet. Inside one of the small homes, a family is settling in for sleep. There's no separate bedroom, just a main room where the fire has been slowly dying down. The parents lie on a mattress, stuffed with straw. The children are curled up on old wool blankets, laid over sacks of oats. A few chickens roost in the corner, their feathers tucked in, their heads turned back under their wings. Sleep is shared here, by people, by animals, by warmth. And in the very center of the room, a pile of hot stones wrapped in cloth gives off the last bit of heat from the cooking fire. This is what sleep looked like for many medieval people. Now let's pause for a moment. Think about your bed. It's probably soft. You might have a pillow, maybe even 2 sheets, a warm blanket. You lie down alone, or with someone close. You turn out the light, check the time, and drift off. But in medieval times it was different. People didn't always sleep through the night. They had something called a first sleep, and a second sleep. The first sleep started not long after sunset. People would eat their final meal before the sun went down. Because after that, it was simply too dark to do anything useful. Candles and oil lamps were expensive. Firewood had to be saved. So they ate, cleaned up and lay down early. The first sleep might last until midnight, or a little after. Then for some reason that still puzzles historians, people would wake up in the middle of the night. They didn't just toss and turn. No, they got up. They stirred the coals in the fire. They went outside to check on animals. They said their prayers. They read, if they were wealthy enough to own a book or had access to one. Some would even visit neighbors, or tend to quiet tasks. It was a kind of sacred in-between. The world was still and dark. The stars stretched over fields and forests. This was the night watch, a gentle secret time. People didn't fear being awake in the night. It was expected. Accepted. After an hour or 2, they would go back to bed and begin their second sleep. That would last until dawn, when the rooster crowed and the village slowly came alive again. Now you may wonder, why 2 sleeps? The truth is, we're not entirely sure. Some scholars believe it's just how the human body naturally functions, without artificial light, without screens, without constant distraction. Maybe our bodies settle into this rhythm. 2 blocks of sleep, with a little time in between. Other researchers think it was practical. If you sleep with others, and someone snores or stirs, everyone wakes up anyway. Or perhaps it was safer to sleep lightly. You never knew when a fire might spark, or a thief might creep. But isn't it fascinating that something so common to them, so ordinary, feels strange to us now? Now, picture this. You're a traveler in the year the road has been long. Your boots are muddy. The wind is cold. You reach a roadside inn. You're hoping for a warm bed, a meal, maybe some ale to ease the ache in your legs. Inside, the innkeeper nods. You pay your coin, but there's no private room. There's just one big sleeping chamber, maybe 20 people in it. Some lie on benches, others on piles of hay. One corner has a blanket draped for privacy, but there are no walls. You're given a space on the floor beside a tanner from York, You don't know him, he snores, loudly. And yet you sleep. People were used to sleeping in groups. In homes, inns, monasteries, and castles, servants might sleep at the foot of their master's bed. Children and parents slept side by side. Privacy wasn't expected. It simply didn't exist the way we understand it now. Now let's talk about beds themselves. For the poor, a bed might be nothing more than a blanket on the ground, or a mat of straw. Sometimes it was raised a little off the ground, to stay away from rats, insects, or the cold, but just a little. For richer folks, a bed could be quite grand. Imagine a wooden frame with 4 posts, and a canopy overhead, curtains all around to keep in warmth, mattresses stuffed with feathers or wool, linen sheets, if you could afford them, a pillow perhaps, maybe even 2, but still it was cold. Stone castles were chilly. Even in summer the nights could be damp and cold. People slept with thick woolen blankets. They wore nightgowns. Some wore caps to keep their heads warm. Some even kept small dogs in bed for extra warmth. And many slept with bricks, wrapped in cloth, warmed in the fire and placed at their feet. A medieval hot water bottle, you could say. And then there were herbs. People believed certain herbs helped them sleep better. Lavender, chamomile, hops. These were tucked under pillows or hung from the beams above the bed. Not only did they smell nice, but many people believed they kept away bad spirits. Because dreams too were important. Dreams were messages. From God, from angels, from the soul. Some people prayed before sleep, not just for safety, but for good dreams. Others whispered short rhyme, like Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. Bless the bed that I lie on. Now think of this image. It's a cold winter night. Snow falls outside. The fire has been banked down to glowing coals. A woman lies curled up in bed. Her children are close beside her. A dog sleeps at her feet. A bundle of herbs hangs above the bed. And as she pulls the blanket to her chin, she begins to whisper an old soft prayer in Latin. That's how sleep began for many people in the Middle Ages. And yet not everyone slept at night. Watchmen patrolled the street. Monks woke before dawn to sing prayers in the dark. Bakers began work while the world still slept, lighting their ovens and kneading the dough. Some people, especially in the countryside, slept according to the seasons. In winter with longer nights they slept more. In summer they rose early, to take advantage of the light. Sleep for them was flexible. It changed with the world around them. You wouldn't find an alarm clock in a medieval home. You might have a rooster, or a bell tower, or just the rising sun slipping in through the shutter crack. Time moved slowly, gently. There were no deadlines in the dark. Now back in our village, the moon has climbed higher. A child stirs, then sighs, then goes still again. The father rises quietly, and places another log on the fire. He sits for a time, warming his hands, thinking. The night is long, but he's not afraid of it. He knows there is time yet to sleep again. Eventually he lies back down, pulls the wool blanket over his shoulder, and lets himself drift into second sleep. Outside the wind rustles the straw on the roof. The snow continues to fall, and in the quiet of the night, across the land, people dream. Not dramatic dreams, just simple ones. Of fields, of family, of bread baking, of sunlight on stone, and somewhere far away perhaps a scribe in a monastery writes a note in the margin of a manuscript. He writes, "Woke from first sleep, said my prayers, slept again, just a record, just a moment." And the centuries pass. But the dreams remain. A faint light touches the edges of the wooden shutters. In the small village house, the fire has turned to ash. Only the warm stones in the center of the room hold on to the night. The mother wakes first. She doesn't rush. She simply listens. To the soft sound of her children breathing. To the quiet snore of her husband. To the tiny creaks in the roof. As it adjusts to the morning air. She knows it's not quite dawn. Just the time between, the still part of the world. Not first sleep. Not second sleep. Somewhere in between. She slips out of bed, careful not to wake anyone. She pads across the dirt floor, and gently lifts a pot from beside the fire. She adds a little water, a little grain, porridge, slow cooked. It will be ready when the others rise. She adds a pinch of dried mint. It's good for the stomach, and the smell is calming. In her village, everyone knows small things like that. Now let's pause again. What do you sleep on? A mattress? Soft, springy, covered in sheets. For many people in the Middle Ages, that wasn't the case. If you were poor, you might sleep on a bag of straw, or hay, or even reeds. Sometimes the sack would be made of linen, if you were lucky. If not, it might just be a woven mat. And straw doesn't stay fresh. It has to be changed, or it smells musty. Sometimes bugs find their way in. So once a season, or maybe more if you were tidy, you'd throw out the old and stuff in the new. The word bed didn't always mean what it does now. In old inventories, a bed could just be a bundle of blankets, or a place to lie. The rich had wooden bed frames, tall posts, and heavy curtains to trap in warmth. But the poor made do with what they had. And those beds, if they were raised, were often pushed into corners. Not in the center of the room like in pictures. They were kept out of the way, to stay warm, to stay safe. Some people even slept in nests, not bird nests, but round piles of straw or hay, tucked against the wall where the warmth could collect. Families might share these spaces. They'd line them with old cloth or fur. They'd lie close together, not out of uffic alone, but for survival. The body heat of others kept the cold from biting too deeply. And clothes. You didn't change into special pajamas. Not usually. You slept in what you had. Maybe a long linen shirt. Maybe your everyday tunic. If it was winter, you kept on whatever layers you could. You even kept your shoes close, not to wear, but because things got stolen. Even in your own house. Now picture a winter night in the countryside. A boy wraps his arms around a clay jar warmed by the fire. It's wrapped in cloth, and it gives off a quiet warmth. His grandmother had placed dried rosemary inside. She says it helps him breathe easier. She also says it keeps the devil away. He isn't sure what that means, but the scent is nice. The wind outside howls like a wolf, but he's safe. There are 4 others in the bed with him, and a little dog curled tight at the edge. The dog breathes fast and quiet. Its nose is warm against the boy's toes. This is what comfort looked like then. Now let's move to the towns. In a busy medieval city, the streets are houses lean against each other. Upstairs, bedrooms are shared. Walls are thin. People talk through them, laugh, sometimes argue, and sleep through it all. If you were a servant, you might sleep near the hearth, or in the hallway, or even in the kitchen, curled near the warm ashes. You slept where you were told, often at the foot of your master's bed, or on a stool. Some curled in stairwells, using a sack as a pillow. Beds were precious, and privacy didn't exist. In some homes, the master and mistress slept in the same room as the children, or the apprentices, or the maid. Curtains helped a little, but everyone could still hear every movement, every whisper, every dream, and yet people slept. Now imagine you are a traveler again, but this time, in a monastery. You are not a monk, but you have been given rest there for the night. You are brought to a narrow cot in a cold stone room. One candle burns. The silence is deep. It almost has a shape, a heaviness. You lie down. No mattress, just a wooden plank with a wool blanket. It's itchy. The pillow is firm. There are no curtains, no decorations, just a cross on the wall, but it is peaceful. Somewhere nearby, monks wake for matins, the early prayers, said in the dark. They have slept only a few hours. Their life is different. A bell rings, softly. It echoes through the halls. The monks rise, slowly, silently. They walk in single file to the chapel. Each carries a candle. Their robes brush against the stone floor. No one speaks. And then softly, they begin to sing. Voices rise deep and slow. Ancient Latin words echo in the darkness. It's not music like we know it. It's not for performance. It's for something else. Something older. Something quieter. And then it fades. They return to bed. Just for a little while. A few more hours. Until dawn. This rhythm ruled their lives. Sleep, pray, work, eat, pray again. Sleep. Time was marked not by clocks, but by bells, by sky, by habit. Now let's talk about inns again. Inns were loud places. You could drink, eat, talk, hear stories. But when it came time to sleep, you didn't have your own room. You didn't even have your own bed. Travelers often shared a bed with strangers. Not just once, but every night. You could be curled up next to a baker from another town, or a soldier on leave, or someone who snored terribly and didn't bathe often. People accepted it. They weren't shocked. It was normal. And in some places, beds were rented by the shift. A person would sleep from dusk until midnight. Then another would take their place from midnight to dawn. The bed was never cold. It was never empty. And that brings us to one of the strangest things of all. The idea of warming the bed. In some homes, especially the fancier ones, there were people whose job was to warm the master's bed. They didn't lie in it. They placed heated stones or iron pans, filled with embers under the covers before sleep. Sometimes servants would lie in the bed for a few minutes before their lord entered, just to warm it up. Imagine that. Your job is to make someone else's bed not feel cold. There were even tales of professional bed warmers in some regions, though we don't know how true those are. But the idea alone is strange to us. Now let's walk into a castle. It's late. A fire flickers low in the grand hall. The stone walls feel cold, even in summer. You climb the stairs to a room with tapestries on the wall. There is a grand bed, curtains, pillows, layers of sheets. A candle burns low beside it. The Lord lies down in silence. His servant stands nearby. Once the master sleeps, the servant slips onto a cot nearby, in case he's needed in the night. Even in castles, sleep was shared. If not the bed, then the room. Rare was the person who slept truly alone. Even kings had people nearby. And then there are the sounds of the night. No traffic, no phones, but other things. Wind, owls, mice, dogs, dripping water, the creak of old wood, the flutter of a bat. Some feared the night. They believed spirits wandered then, or that illness crept in through the dark. That's why people hung charms, or herbs, or crosses, to keep the bad things away, to bring peace to dreams. Some kept a Bible under the pillow, or a blessed object, or even a pebble from a holy well. And yet even with all this, most people slept just fine, because they were tired. They worked from dawn until dusk. They walked miles. They tilled the fields. They stitched, cooked, lifted, cleaned. Their bodies ached. Their minds were quiet. And sleep came. Slowly. Fully. Not always comfortably. But surely. Let's return now to our little village. The mother has fed the fire. The children stir. She gently wakes her husband. The children stretch. The day begins. But tonight, they will sleep again. And the same quiet rhythms will unfold. First sleep, waking, prayers, herbs, second sleep, and dreams, soft, steady dreams, of quiet things, like baking bread, or walking through woods, or seeing someone you love smile. The sun rises slowly over the hills. Its light spills like honey over the rooftops of the village. The morning mist clings low to the fields, and the air smells of dew, smoke, and soil. It's a new day, but the same rhythm begins again. Wake, eat, work, rest, sleep. But what's most curious about the sleep of medieval people isn't just when they slept, it's how they thought about it. Sleep wasn't just a body's need, it was a kind of space, a place where the body went, a doorway into something else. People believed dreams were messages, not just stories made by the mind, but signs, warnings, answers, and sometimes memories from other worlds. They didn't write their dreams in journals like people today, but they told them, at breakfast, at church, in the field, over bread and broth. Someone might lean in and say, "I dreamed of a white horse last night," and everyone would go quiet. They believed certain dreams meant certain things. A bird flying away could mean someone would die. A storm could mean trouble. A bright light might mean an angel. A spider. That was money. There were even small books called dream books. They listed common dreams and their meanings. If you dreamed of teeth falling out, It might mean someone you knew was lying. If you dreamed of water, it meant change was coming. Dreams weren't just dreams, they were a language. And people slept carefully to protect their dreams. Some tied small ribbons around their wrists to keep nightmares away. Others placed iron nails under their beds. Some would never sleep with their heads facing west. And others believed that if you died in a dream, it meant someone else took your place. These beliefs weren't frightening. They were gentle, familiar, part of the world. Now imagine a girl in a stone cottage. She's about 10 years old. She lies in bed with her grandmother. The room is quiet, except for the soft crackle of the dying fire. She whispers, "I dreamed I was flying over the trees." And her grandmother nods slowly. "That means your heart is ready," she says. The girl doesn't ask ready for what. She just smiles and turns over. Sleep finds her again. Let's shift now to a different sort of place. A farmhouse in a green valley. The days are long here, and the nights cool and full of stars. A man and his wife lie in bed. The man stirs. It's the middle of the night, between the two sleeps. He sits up and rubs his eyes. He doesn't light a candle. He doesn't need to. The moon is full. Its light spills across the wooden floor. He walks quietly to the window. He opens the shutter just a little, and breathes the night air. It's fresh. A little damp. He hears the owl. The wind in the trees. The river, not far off, running slow. He smiles. He sits on a stool beside the fire, and begins to sharpen a small knife. Not because he needs to, but because it's something to do with his hands. He's not afraid of the night. He's at peace with it. The in-between hours belong to him. After a while, he returns to bed. His wife turns over and murmurs something in her sleep. He lies back, listens to the wind, and drifts into second sleep. This is what historians now believe was normal, natural, healthy, even. People weren't confused by waking in the night. They expected it. They welcomed it. Some said their best thoughts came in that time. Their clearest prayers, their most peaceful moment. In the world of now, we fear waking up at 2 a.m. We stare at the clock. We worry. We wonder why. But long ago, it was simply part of the rhythm. Now, let's go to a city again. This time, a quiet street near a church. A scholar lives in a small upper room. His walls are lined with parchment. He's not rich, but he's clever. He reads by candlelight, and copies texts for the priests. He doesn't sleep much, but not because he's anxious. It's because his mind is full of words, of meaning, of old stories and strange alphabets. He lies on a wooden cot with a single thin blanket. His feet are cold, but he doesn't mind. At midnight, he rises. He pours a little water into a clay bowl. He washes his hands and face. Then he kneels and prays. He thanks the night. He thanks the silence. He asks for wisdom in dreams. Then he returns to bed. This idea of sleep being sacred, of the night being a time for learning, for prayer, for thought, was common, especially among monks, among scribes, among healers. The night wasn't just the end of the day. It was a space for something more. And speaking of healers, let's go now to a cottage at the edge of the forest. It smells of thyme and smoke. A woman in her 50s tends to a small pot over the fire. It's filled with water, bark, and dried petals. She's making a sleep tonic for a mother in the village who's been having trouble resting. She stirs it gently, adds honey, pours it into a little jar. She also gathers a small pouch of herbs, hops, lavender, crushed poppy seed. The pouch will be placed under the mother's pillow to calm the nerves, to ease the mind. This is medieval medicine, not strange, not wild, just gentle, earth-based, local. Sleep tonics were common. So were bedtime rituals. People didn't have screens or late-night snacks, but they had habits. A short prayer, a little drink, a warm rock at the feet, a hand to hold. In larger homes, people might be read to before bed, not by books, always, but by memory. Someone would recite an old tale, a verse, a parable. The words would echo softly across stone walls. It was soothing, a kind of lullaby. And in smaller homes, it might just be a story whispered between siblings, or a grandmother humming an old tune. Now let's return to sleep itself. It wasn't always easy. There were bugs, there was cold, there was noise, there were aching limbs from long days in the field. But there was also something many of us have lost. A trust in rest. People didn't force sleep. They let it come. If it didn't, they waited. They used the time. They sat, thought, prayed, breathed. And that might be the strangest sleep habit of all. Not the two-part nights, not the shared beds, not the bundles of herbs or warm bricks, but the patience, the ease, the acceptance of slowness. Now as the candle burns low, and the world outside our imagined window grows dark once again, you can begin to feel the same stillness, the same softness, the slow rhythm of breath, the gentle warmth of imagined wool, the quiet world of medieval sleep. And in your own way, you become part of it too. The light fades from the sky. A soft gray settles over the village rooftop. It's neither day nor night, just that soft in-between time, when shadows stretch long and birds give one last call before stillness. In a small house near the edge of the forest, a woman places a wooden board over the coals of the fire. She wants to keep the warmth in. Beside her, her son gathers a bundle of kindling for the morning. Their movements are quiet, practiced. They've done this every night for years. Outside, the air cools quickly. The last warmth of the day slips away into the soil, and the grass dampens under the early dew. Somewhere in the distance, a cow moans low, calling her calf. The time for sleep is close. In the Middle Ages, evening was not a time for excitement. It was a time for winding down. There were no glowing screens, no loud music, no nightlife for most. After supper, which might be nothing more than some broth and a crust of bread, people prepared for bed. But even preparing for bed was a ritual of sorts. Some washed their feet in cold water. Not with soap, always. Just a rinse. The dust of the day washed away. Others sat by the fire and brushed their hair with wooden combs. Slowly, gently. Untangling knots, untangling thoughts. Children might be told a story, not a loud laughing tale, but something quiet. A little rhyme, or a verse, or a bit of scripture, depending on the home. Candles were lit sparingly. Tallow candles, made from animal fat, gave off a faint yellow light. The smell was strong, a little smoky, but it was enough to see the way to bed. If there was a bed, let's stop for a moment. Imagine lying on a mattress, made of straw. You feel the crunch of the stalks beneath your weight. It shifts and makes soft sounds as you move. There's a linen cloth spread over it, worn thin in the middle from many nights of turning. The pillow, if there is one, is lumpy, stuffed with feathers if you're lucky, or with old cloth. You lie down slowly. Beside you someone else shifts. Your spouse, your sibling, your child, maybe even a stranger. It's not strange to you. You've never known anything else. Now imagine sleeping in a loft above a stable. The smell of hay is thick and sweet. Below, horses shift in their stalls. Their warm breath rises up through the slats in the floor. It's warmer here than in the stone rooms of the manor. A young stable boy lies curled up in his cloak, one arm beneath his head, the other around his boots. His cheeks are pink from the cold, but he's used to it. Sleep finds him quickly. In many places people used cloaks and coats as blankets. They didn't have extra linen or fancy coverlets, just the clothes on their backs doubled, layered, wrapped tightly. Now picture this. A castle, grand and tall. The lords have retired. In the servant quarters, a group of maids finish their evening tasks. They sweep the floor, bank the fire, fold the linens, then they gather in the corner of the long hall. They roll out their shared bedding. Not mattresses, just folded cloth. They laugh quietly. One hums a tune. Another braids her hair by firelight. Then one by one they settle down. The room darkens. The air grows still. Outside, the wind whistles through the stone walls. Sleep comes slowly, but peacefully. In the towns things are a little louder. The blacksmith has finally finished his last shoe. He scrubs the soot from his hands and face using ashes and cold water. His hands are rough, cracked. He wraps them in cloth before bed. He lies down on a mat beside the forge. The floor is warm from the day's heat. He has a blanket made from an old horse's wool rug. It smells of leather and smoke, but it is familiar. Comfort across the alley. The weaver's apprentice lies in the back of the shop. Her loom stands tall and quiet in the moonlight. She lies beneath it. Her eyes watch the beams of wood and thread above her, until they blur and soften and sleep takes her. Gently. Now let's move further into the countryside. A shepherd sleeps alone in a small hut. He has a dog beside him, and a horn by the door in case of wolves. He is not afraid. The stars are clear overhead, and the wind is soft tonight. He lies on a bed of moss and old wool. His sheep are gathered in the lower field. He knows their sounds, each one. He listens as they settle. The dog snores. The shepherd pulls his cloak tighter and thinks of nothing in particular. Sleep here is pure, quiet, wide like the sky. And then there are the people who didn't sleep much at all. Night guards, monks, midwives, soldiers. The night was their time. While others slept, they watched, protected, listened. In some churches, priests stayed awake to pray over the sick, to sit by those who were dying, to keep candles burning through the night. It was a sacred duty, a quiet one. A candle's flame could be a comfort to someone waking from a bad dream. Speaking of bad dreams, let's talk about nightmares. They were not just scary stories. People believed nightmares had causes. Some thought it was because of food. If you ate too much cheese, or onions or beans, you might have troubled sleep. Others thought spirits came in the night. Old tales told of beings who sat on your chest while you slept, pressing the air from your lungs. Today we might call it sleep paralysis, but then they called it the night hag, or the man. That's where the word nightmare comes from. To protect themselves, people took precautions. A small knife under the pillow, iron nails in the four corners of the bed, a horseshoe over the door, a prayer whispered as the candle was blown out. There were charms, little bags of herbs, or carved symbols on the bedpost. Some even placed shoes upside down under the bed, to confuse evil spirits. And in the morning, when a child cried from a bad dream, a parent might say, "Tell it to the fire." They'd light a bit of kindling, and let the dream drift away with the smoke. Isn't that lovely? Now let's go to the edge of a quiet lake. A fisherman and his wife live in a small house on stilts above the water. Their bed is made of old netting and reeds. When they lie down, they can feel the water moving beneath the floor. Their sleep is rocked by the wind, by the tide, by the still rhythm of waves. Above them, dried fish hang from the beams. Beside them, their cat curls up in a basket. The room smells of salt and smoke and fresh air. They do not fear the dark. They close their eyes and let the motion carry them to sleep. Back in the cities, the bell rings again. It's midnight. The second sleep is beginning. Candles are snuffed out. Boots are removed. Prayers are whispered. Even the rats in the alley go quiet. And somewhere a young boy sits by the window. He is not asleep. He watches the stars. He thinks of knights and dragons and tall towers. But soon his head begins to nod. And soon his eyes close. And soon all the world is sleeping again. The night is darker now. The stars are soft dots across a velvet sky. There is no moon. Just the hum of stillness. And everywhere, across villages, towns, manors and fields, people lie curled beneath wool, straw and cloth. Somewhere a shutter creaks softly in the breeze. In a quiet abbey tucked between green hills, a young monk rises for prayer. He does not speak. He moves like a shadow. Others follow. The hallway echoes only with bare feet on stone. The bell does not ring. It is a silent signal, felt more than heard. Inside the chapel, candles are lit, one by one. A soft golden glow spreads like butter across the cold stone walls. Their voices begin to rise in chant. Low, gentle, ancient. They are not fully awake, and yet not truly asleep. The line between the two is thin, like mist before the morning sun. This time of night, for them, is not strange. It is a sacred moment, a quiet hour for the soul to stretch, while the body still rests. And when they return to their straw beds, the warmth of the candlelight follows them back into sleep. Let us travel now to a different sort of home, a two-room cottage on the edge of a farming village. A widow and her daughter live here. The walls are made of wattle and daub, twigs and mud, hardened in the sun. Their roof is thatched and smells faintly of rain. Inside there is a single bed. They share. Before sleeping, the daughter crushes dried mint leaves between her fingers and sprinkles them into a shallow clay bowl near the hearth. The smell is sharp and calming. The mother says it chases away heavy thought, and sometimes when she has trouble falling asleep, she stirs the ashes in the fire and listens to the tiny crackles. This night, the two of them lie side by side. They speak softly. The daughter says she dreamed of a bear last night. Not a scary bear. A quiet one. It just stood and looked at her. The mother hums thoughtfully. She says, "Bears mean strength. Maybe you're growing into yours." And the daughter smiles. Sleep comes soon after. In medieval life, meaning was found in the small things. A dream, a candle, a crack in the door. Nothing was wasted. Even sleep had a place in the story. Let's move now to the upper rooms of a merchant's house. This is a finer space. There is a bed frame here, carved wood, with tall posts and embroidered curtains. The merchant and his wife lie beneath a thick quilt filled with goose feathers. It is warm, but the air is cold. A small iron brazier glows in the corner. Their servant lies nearby on a straw mat. She sleeps lightly. She has trained herself to wake if called, or if a child stirs. She has a linen cap tied under her chin. Her breath fogs in the cold. She drifts in and out of dreams. Some people believed that dreams near fire were clearer, closer to truth, and dreams near cold were muddled and strange. That's why firelight was kept low, but never out when it could be helped. But fire is a risk. In the middle of the night, in the same town, a fire crackles too high in one of the small homes. The chimney is clogged. The family does not notice, but the neighbor does. He smells smoke. He calls out. People stir. There is no panic, just quiet action. Water from a bucket, blankets dampened, embers scattered and cooled. The danger passes. The families return to sleep, hearts a little faster, but comforted. This is part of the rhythm too. Sleep was always shared. Even danger, even peace. Now let us imagine a group of travelers. They've stopped beside a river. They're not near a town, just a path in the woods. They've made camp. The fire burns low, and the soup pot is empty. They've eaten simple food, roots, dry bread, a bit of salt pork. Now they settle, not in beds, but under cloaks. One leans against a tree, another curls up beside the fire. The horses are tethered nearby, munching grass. The night is cool and open. One man hums softly, a tune from childhood. Another sharpens his blade for the morning, and the third has already closed his eyes. He does not mind the ground beneath him. It's firm, familiar. He dreams of nothing, just quiet, just dark. In medieval times, traveling meant surrendering to discomfort, but it also meant learning to sleep anywhere. On ships, on wagons, in fields, in caves. Wherever there was shelter from wind or wolves. People became soft when they could, but strong when they had to. Now think of this. You are in a monastery again, but this time, it is storming outside, heavy rain. The wind howls through the cloisters. Inside, the dormitory is lined with simple beds, thin blankets, no pillows. The monks sleep in rows, not all at once. Some pray while others rest. Then they trade places. The rhythm continues through the storm. The building creaks. A shutter bangs. But no one rises, because they trust the walls. The routine. the silence inside the storm. And slowly, the wind begins to die, and sleep returns, steady and deep. Elsewhere, in a lonely manor, a nobleman cannot sleep. He has drunk wine, but his mind is full. He walks the halls barefoot. He looks out at the rain. He remembers old things. He hears the ticking of a wooden clock made for him by a craftsman in town. He walks into the chapel in his home, and kneels. No words, just breath. After a time, he returns to his bed. His dog is there. It lifts its head, then lowers it again. He pulls the curtain close, and waits for sleep to find him again. Not all sleep was easy, but all sleep had a place. Even troubled sleep was part of life. Now, let us return to a small home. A child wakes from a dream, and cries out. The mother stirs. She gathers him close. She hums an old lullaby, one sung to her by her own mother long ago. The words don't matter. The tune is soft and even. The warmth of arms, the quiet of night. Soon the child drifts back down, into safe sleep. And the mother too. And the house is quiet once more. And the world continues breathing in the dark. The stars are almost gone now. A pale light touches the edge of the eastern sky. The first signs of dawn begin to hum beneath the earth. Quiet and slow. And yet across the land, many still sleep. In a village cottage, the father stirs in his bed. He doesn't open his eyes yet. He knows it's almost time, but not quite. He turns onto his side, pulling the woolen blanket over his shoulders. His youngest child sleeps beside him, a hand resting gently on his arm. The air is cold. Their breath forms soft clouds. But the bed is warm. This is the last hour of the second sleep, and no one wants to leave it too soon. For many in the Middle Ages, this was the sweetest sleep. The one after prayers. After the fire had been checked. After the house was still. The one that led you directly to morning. Sleep didn't rush in those days. It lingered, stretched, flowed like a river under snow. Let us visit a farmhouse now. A woman wakes from a vivid dream. She lies still, remembering it. A white bird, flying low over a field. It did not land. It just flew. She doesn't know what it means, but she feels calm. She turns her head and looks at her husband. He's still breathing deeply. She doesn't wake him. She smiles instead, then closes her eyes again. For people in the Middle Ages, dreams were part of the day's language, a way to speak without words, a space for the soul to wander. Some people believed your dreams were shaped by what you ate, or what you thought about just before sleep. That's why people were careful not to carry anger or fear into bed. They wanted their dreams to be clean, to be open. Many homes had little routines before sleep. Not just to relax the body, but to clear the mind. Some would kneel and whisper a prayer. Others would gently recite the names of family members, living and dead, as a way of placing them in thought before entering the world of dreams. It was a slow softening of the mind, like cooling iron in water. Let us step now into a tailor's home. His hands are rough from needlework, but steady. Each evening, he folds his thread carefully, places his scissors in a wooden box, lays his fabrics in a stack. He smooths the wrinkles with his palm. Then he blows out the candle and stretches. He doesn't go to bed immediately. Instead, he opens the window shutter, just a little, and breathes the night air. He listens to the quiet. He looks at the shape of rooftops under the moonlight. And only after this pause does he lie down. For him, sleep is a reward. Not just rest, but something finer. A chance to float for a while in stillness. And across the street, a midwife sleeps lightly. She must always be ready. Her bag is packed beside her. Herbs, cloth, twine. She lies on her side, her hands tucked under her cheek. Even in dreams, she listens. She hears the horses in the stable. She hears the fox in the alley. She hears the breath of the woman in the room next to hers. Heavy with child, this night is quiet, but she is always half awake. Now let's walk into a castle. In a quiet chamber, the lady of the house lies in a great bed. The mattress is filled with goose down. The sheets are soft, The curtains are drawn against the cold. At her feet, a spaniel dog shifts in sleep. The fire has been reduced to coals. Outside, snow falls silently. She is not alone. Two maids sleep nearby, on thin mattresses placed by the wall. They rose earlier to warm the bed with hot bricks, wrapped in cloth. One of them fell asleep while whispering a song. Her mouth is slightly open, the other curls in a ball, arms folded under her cloak. The lady hears none of this. She dreams. In her dream she walks through a garden. Not a real one, a dream garden. The kind that only exists in sleep. Where the paths are made of mist and the flowers hum when the wind passes through them. This is what medieval sleep was full of. Not fear, not noise, but softness, symbols, stillness. Let us visit now a tiny home in the forest. A charcoal burner lives here. He works long days. Tonight he lies flat on a board covered with an old deer skin. His hands are cracked and dark with ash. But he sleeps easily. His body knows the rhythm: burn, stack, cool, rest. His dreams are simple, of fire, of rain, of tall trees swaying. In the Middle Ages, people were closer to the earth in every way. They slept on it. They rose with it. They followed its light. The idea of staying up late just to stay awake didn't exist. When the sun was gone, the world dimmed, and so did thoughts. Now, let us return to a traveler's camp. The fire is almost out. The men sleep wrapped in cloaks. One holds a lantern by its handle, unlit, as if in readiness. Another clutches a pouch of bread. A third lies flat on his back, mouth open, snoring softly. A woman sits nearby, humming. She has trouble sleeping, not from fear, just from restlessness. So she sings softly, barely louder than a whisper. And after a while, she too leans back and closes her eyes and joins the others in the quiet rhythm of sleep. As the first light of dawn breaks across the treetops, a new day begins. But for now, for just a little longer, most of the world still dreams. The first rooster crows. Its voice is long and low, rising from the far side of the village. A few dogs bark in answer, then grow quiet again. The sky is turning pale blue, soft as linen. The stars are slipping away. But in most houses, the second sleep still holds the people gently. Inside one home, a young boy dreams of running, not away from anything, not toward anything, just running. His feet are bare. The grass is cold, but in the dream it's not unpleasant. It feels real. His mother beside him dreams of baking. She kneads dough slowly, gently, humming as she moves. She wakes for a moment, smiles faintly, then sinks back into the warmth of the blanket. Sleep in the Middle Ages didn't always end when the sun rose. It faded slowly. People would open their eyes and stay still, listening, waiting for the right moment to rise. There were no alarms, just the rhythm of the light, the feel of the air, and the sound of life returning. Let's visit a different home. A carpenter lives here, with his wife and two daughters. The daughters sleep in the loft, under the rafters. There's a little hole in the roof that lets in light during the day, and lets smoke out when the fire burns. At night, if the sky is clear, they can see one or two stars through the hole. They take turns watching them fade. Tonight, the younger one stirs first. She looks up and sees just one star left. She listens to her sister's breathing. She doesn't speak. She simply waits until she hears the rustle of her father moving below. Only then does she rise. No rush, no worry. Just quiet steps down the ladder. Below, her father has placed new wood on the fire. The house smells of ash and wool and bread dough rising. These are the slow mornings of the world long ago. Let us now walk into a monastery, one we've visited before. In the main hall, a monk has already taken out his tool. He's preparing to write. The others have returned to sleep after morning prayers. But not him. He writes best in this half-light. He dips his quill into the ink. He scratches slowly, carefully, onto parchment. He writes a passage from the Psalms. His candle flickers slightly. He looks out the narrow window slit and sees the sky turning pale. He smiles. He knows that after he writes, he will rest again, just for a short while. He doesn't need much sleep. His dreams come while he's awake. Now imagine a noble woman in a high castle. She sleeps in a bed that is far too large for her. Her maid has drawn the curtains and placed herbs beneath the pillow. The room is warm from the fire, and her dog rests beside her. In her sleep she is dancing, but not at court, not in a grand hall. In a meadow, alone. She moves barefoot through flowers, her dress catching the wind like wings. Her mind doesn't question it. The dream just is. And as morning light enters the room, she slowly blinks awake. She remembers the dance, not clearly but enough to smile. She turns over and waits. A few more minutes of warmth. Then she'll rise. Even among the wealthy, mornings were slow. Let us return now to a shepherd's hut. He has been awake since before dawn. He sits on a stone outside, wrapping his cloak tightly around his shoulders. He holds a bit of bread and cheese. He eats slowly, watching the sheep wake in the misty field. They move gently, softly. He is in no rush. He slept well. Not deeply, but long enough. His dreams were full of nothing, and that is a blessing. In the towns, some shops are beginning to stir. A baker lights his oven. The bread must rise soon. A washerwoman carries her linens to the stream, her hands still red from the cold. A boy yawns and rubs his eyes, then starts sweeping the dirt from the inn's entryway. But in many homes, people still lie curled in straw, wool, and warmth. The second sleep is nearly over, but not quite. And this in-between time, this quiet hour of not quite sleeping and not quite waking, is full of peace. Let us now walk into a church. It is empty. Sunlight spills through the high windows. Dust floats in the beams. A priest kneels at the altar, eyes closed. He is not praying aloud. He is resting, quietly, in the silence. He did not sleep well last night. Too many worries, too many whispers of things to come. But now, in the hush of morning, he finds a different kind of rest. A waking rest. A silent sleep of the soul. Not all sleep comes with dreams. Some comes in stillness. Some comes in thought. Some comes in moments like this. Let's return now to the hills. A woman gathers her blankets from where she slept beside her wagon. She is a traveler, a healer. She lives on the road, stopping where she's needed. Last night she camped near an orchard. The trees were full of pears. She had eaten one before bed. Now she brushes her long hair with her fingers, ties it back and rolls her bedding. She does not speak. She does not think of time. She listens to the bird. She watches the morning mist curl like smoke through the leaves. Her dreams were strange last night, full of colors. She'll write them down later. In a journal she keeps hidden in her satchel. She has no permanent home, but sleep follows her wherever she goes. It's a companion, a soft shadow, a long, gentle friend. And now, across the land, sleep begins to fade. Slowly, like fog, like candle smoke, like a breath. People stretch, yawn, touch the floor with cautious feet. The day is waiting, but not rushing. And for a few final moments, the warmth of the blanket, the quiet of the room, and the softness of night remain. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most precious part of all. The space between the dream and the day. The second sleep has ended. A soft gray light has filled the sky, and even the smallest corners of the countryside begin to stretch and stir. The world is no longer dreaming, but it is not yet busy either. It's that quiet breath, before movement, before footsteps, before the first doors creak open. In a hillside village, a boy sits near the hearth, holding a warm stone in his hands. It's wrapped in an old bit of linen. He was the first to wake, but he didn't want to make noise, so he just sits quietly, watching the glow of the rekindled fire. He doesn't speak, he doesn't hum, he just is. And around him, the rest of the house slowly begins to wake. The straw mattress rustles softly. Someone coughs. The dog stretches, a soft murmur of mum from his sister, still half in her dreams. The boy keeps holding the stone. It's still warm from where it sat beside the banked coals overnight. This is how people kept their beds warm before they fell asleep. A stone heated near the fire, wrapped carefully, placed beneath the blanket. If you were lucky, the warmth lasted until morning. If not, you hugged yourself tightly and pulled your wool cloak closer. Now let's return to a small wooden chapel on the edge of a forest. It is not grand. It is barely more than a barn with a steeple, but inside the light filters through simple glass and paints pale colors on the stone floor. The priest enters alone. He slept poorly, but that's not new. He often wakes during the night, not because of fear, just habit. Sometimes he walks outside and looks at the stars. Sometimes he prays. Other times he sits in the pew, listening to nothing. This morning he does the same. He walks to the altar, bows his head, sits, and lets the silence hold him. This too is a kind of sleep, not with the body, but with the spirit. Now let's move to a manor on the edge of a wide green field. Inside, the steward of the house begins his morning round. He checks the stores, the firewood, the servants' quarters. Most are still stirring, wiping sleep from their eyes, pulling on wool leggings, folding up shared blankets. He pauses outside the door of the main chamber. He hears quiet breathing inside. He will not knock yet. Let them rest a few more moments. The lord and lady were up late. A feast last night. Soft music, candles, bread soaked in honey. A sweet way to end the day. The steward moves on, out to the stables. The horses are stamping gently. He greets them without words. Somewhere nearby, a maid washes her face in cold water, teeth clenched at the chill. She's already begun heating a brick in the hearth for her mistress's feet. And so begins another day, but the echoes of the night still linger. Let us pause now in the narrow streets of a busy city. A baker's boy hurries down the lane, barefoot on the stones, carrying a cloth-wrapped bundle of bread for the monastery. He yawns mid-step. He did not sleep enough. But that's all right. He will nap later, once deliveries are done. Sleep in the medieval world was not always one big block. Sometimes it was caught in little pieces. A doze in the hay, a rest by the fire. Even a head leaned against the wall for a few minutes. People listened to their bodies. They let sleep come when it could. Now let's visit a woman who sells herbs. She lives near the river. Her sleep is lighter than most. She says it's because the wind whispers to her while she rests. Last night she dreamed of rosemary. This morning, she crushes a handful of dried rosemary and scatters it in the corners of her home. For protection, for calm. She boils water in a copper pot, adds a few leaves. The steam rises, scented and soft. She sips from a wooden cup and smiles. Sleep lingers in her eyes, but she welcomes it. She believes that part of the soul stays in the dream world even after waking, just for a little while. She calls this the drift time. Now let us sit beside an old man sleeping beneath a tree. He was supposed to be gathering kindling, but the sun was warm. The grass was soft, and his knees were sore. So he sat, and then leaned back, and then closed his eyes. And now he dozes, mouth slightly open, fingers still holding one small stick. Around him bees hum. The breeze moves gently through the tall grass, and the man dreams. He dreams of walking down a long dirt road, younger, faster, smiling. He dreams of his wife, humming while sewing. He dreams of bread baking, the kind of dreams that come only with age. Not sharp, not wild, but slow, like a soft tide. Let's leave him resting and walk into the field nearby. A woman gathers wool. She's been up since just before dawn, but she didn't wake from her own body. She woke because her sheep were moving more than usual. She knows their rhythms. She knows when something's not right. But today, it was nothing. Just a bird. Still, once she was up, she didn't go back to bed. She doesn't mind. She'll rest this afternoon, in a patch of shade, with her wide hat pulled low. Evening sleep, too, was common, especially for the old, especially for children, and especially in seasons when the light was long. Sleep moved with the sun. Let's end today's journey in a schoolroom. A young scribe is copying a manuscript by candlelight. He stayed up too late the night before, reading by sliverlight under his blanket. Now he struggles to keep his eyes open. His hand dips into the ink. He writes 2 words, then stops, then dozes, then wakes, and quickly wipes the smudge from the page. His master does not notice. Sleep, like ink, leaves a mark, but sometimes it's a gentle one. And as the candle flickers, and the birds begin to sing outside the school walls, the boy blinks slowly. He finishes the sentence. And finally, he yawns, and allows himself to rest his head on the wooden desk, just for a moment. And the dreams return. The day is gently alive now. The second sleep is over. The sun is higher. The village is stirring. But everything still moves slowly, as if the dreams of the night have not quite let go. In the distance, a rooster calls again, this time louder. The mist has lifted from the hill. It clings only to the corners of the woods, like old breath beneath a blanket. Inside a cottage at the far end of the village, a woman smooths out her bedding. She has just finished folding her straw mattress. Not lifting it, not replacing it, just tucking in the loose piece. Her hands are practiced. She's done this every morning of her life. She plucks a dry leaf from the corner of the mat, and places it on the windowsill. Not to throw away, but just to sit in the sun. Some believe that anything touched by dreams should be warmed by the light, to help it return to the world. A small superstition, a quiet one. Let's travel now to a convent near the sea. The nuns there rise with the bells. Their sleep is simple, no silks, no warmth, but the shared wool and breath of their sisters beside them. In one narrow bed, a young novice lies awake longer than the others. She has not slept well, not from fear, but because her thoughts were full of words, verses, a dream she cannot quite remember, but can still feel in her chest like an echo. She does not stir. She stays still beneath the thin blanket, and watches the first lines of sunlight crawl across the stone floor. She has found, even in youth, that sometimes sleep is not rest, and sometimes wakefulness can be its own kind of peace. Let's pause here. You might be wondering, did people always sleep at night? Not always. In the Middle Ages, time wasn't cut into sharp pieces like it is now. There were no schedules that dictated exactly when to sleep and when to wake. Night was simply a space. It stretched. It changed with the seasons. It breathed. In winter, when darkness ruled most of the day, sleep was long. People rose only when they had to tend the fire, to check on animals, to warm themselves or speak a quiet prayer. But in summer, people often slept in smaller pieces. They napped during the heat. They rose before the sun. Sleep followed the light, like a tide, and just like the sea, it could pull away, then return, always in rhythm. Now let us walk to a market town. Here, we find an inn. It is loud by day, but calm by morning. The night's guests have either left or are still in the long breaths of sleep. In the loft above the kitchen, a young girl lies on a pile of folded cloth. She's not a guest. She's a helper. She sweeps the floor, clears dishes, tends the fire. She has her own bed of sorts, made from old tablecloths and sacks. It's not soft, but it's hers, and it holds her dreams gently. She keeps a stone beneath it, smooth and round. She says it keeps the nightmares away. No one told her that. She decided it herself. Each night she touches it before sleep. Each morning, she kisses it lightly, and places it under the cloth again. Let's step now into a grander home, a nobleman's manor. Inside, the nursemaid cradles a baby. The child had woken early, eyes wide, arms wiggling. The nursemaid walked the floor quietly, bouncing the child against her shoulder. The sun was not up yet. The fire had died down, but she didn't relight it. She just walked and hummed. And now the baby sleeps again, face nestled in the crook of her neck. She does not put the child down. She sits instead, on a stool near the wall, and closes her eyes. She'll rest like this, just for a little while. Still, warm, wrapped in the same breath. In this age, not all rest was horizontal. Sometimes it was just stillness. Sometimes a mother or a nurse or an old woman in the market would fall asleep sitting up, even walking, even waiting. Sleep, then, was a companion, not a task. Let us return now to the fields. An older couple sits on a blanket beneath an oak tree. They've finished their early chores. It is not yet time for the midday meal. So they sit. She leans against his shoulder. He leans back on one elbow. They do not speak. They just listen to the wind. After a while their eyes close. It's not planned. It just happens. The grass whispers. The leaves turn. Their breath slows. And sleep, gentle, brief, and perfect, carries them off. Let's walk back into the town. A teacher gathers scrolls in his hands. He has been copying texts by candlelight for too long. His head aches. He places the scrolls on a shelf, washes his hands in a clay bowl, and opens the door. The light is brighter now. He steps into it, and blinks. The warmth touches his face. He leans against the stone wall, eyes closed. He's not asleep, but he's resting. There is a word in Latin for this. Quietus. It means quiet, but also peace, also rest. Not sleep exactly, but something close. The world of the Middle Ages was filled with moments like this. Sleep was not only a long night under a blanket, it was a hand resting in flower, still between kneading. It was a head leaning against a tree, just after lunch. It was the breath you took before stepping into prayer. It was the pause before lighting the candle, the hum between verses, the hush after laughter. Let us close this part of the journey at the edge of the sea. A fisherman sits in his boat. It rocks gently in the waves. He has cast his net, and now waits. The sun has risen, but not high. The salt air curls into his hair. He lets his head fall back. His eyes close. The boat rocks, and in that motion, in that sound, he dozes. Just a little. Just enough. And in his sleep, he dreams of fish, and foam, and the same boat far from shore, moving softly across the water. The sun is higher now. Shadows stretch behind the houses. The morning has passed, and the world has begun to work. Hammers ring, hoes dig, wheels turn. But somewhere beneath the movement, the hush of the night still lingers. Like a scent, like a memory. People move through their tasks with hands busy and minds still slow. Because sleep in the Middle Ages wasn't only for night. There were moments, even in the middle of a day, where sleep found its way back. Let us walk now into a cloister garden. It is a square of stone, surrounded by quiet. At its center, a small tree leans gently in the breeze. A monk sits on a wooden bench, head bowed. He is not praying, not reading. He is asleep. The sun falls softly across his shoulder. His hands rest on his knees. His breathing is steady. In this moment, nothing disturbs him. The bees buzz quietly nearby. A bird lands on the stone ledge, tilts its head, then flies again. This kind of midday sleep, short, quiet, simple, was not frowned upon. It was seen as natural, healthy, part of the rhythm of life, especially for those whose nights were broken by prayer, or cold, or duty. Let's walk now into a smithy. The blacksmith has paused his work. He sits in the doorway, wiping his brow. The heat of the forge lingers in the air, even with the fire banked low. He takes a long drink of water, then sets the cup aside. He leans against the door frame, folds his arms and closes his eyes. Just for a few minutes. The hammer will ring again soon. But not yet. The tools rest, and so does he. In medieval towns, the middle of the day often brought a kind of quiet. Shops might close their shutters. The markets might go still. Especially in summer, when the heat pressed down like a woolen cloak. People found shade, folded their arms, and gave their bodies a pause. Sleep didn't always ask for permission. It arrived when needed. Let us step now into a chapel. It is dim, Cool, still, a woman kneels on a low bench. She's been there for some time. Her head dips forward slightly. Her eyes close. Her hands are still clasped, but loose. She's slipped into sleep. Not fully, just enough to drift, to float. She does not snore. She does not dream, just rests, in a space between prayer and peace. This kind of sleep, a small drift in a sacred space, was not mocked. Some believed it was the soul resting while the body listened. And when she wakes, she will not apologize. She will light a candle. She will rise and walk slowly into the sunlight. Let's now imagine a man sitting beneath a tree, writing. He is a traveler, a poet of sorts. His paper is rough, his quill is uneven, but his eyes are heavy. He's been walking since dawn. The words have slowed. He rests his head against the trunk. A line of verse, still half-formed in his thoughts. And then nothing. Sleep. Birdsong above. His hand drops the pen. The ink dries. Later, when he wakes, he will smile. The poem has finished itself in his dream. He just needs to write it down. Sleep was often linked with creativity. It wasn't just a break. It was a place the mind could go to discover things it couldn't. While awake. Ideas. Visions, stories. Even answers to problems. And because of that, some people cherished their dreams. They even trained themselves to remember them. Let us visit now a healer's cottage. The woman who lives here keeps a bowl of water beside her bed. Before sleep, she drops a single petal into it. Each morning, she looks at the petal, and if it has sunk, she believes her dreams will fade. If it floats, she believes her dreams will return to her again. She writes them down on small slips of parchment, rolled and tied with string. She keeps them in a wooden box. She does not share them, but once a year, she burns the ones that no longer feel true. She calls this her dream cleaning. Sleep was not always for forgetting. Sometimes it was for collecting. Now imagine a boy lying in the grass. He has just finished helping his father build a fence. His back is sore. His fingers blistered. But the sun is warm, and the grass smells sweet. He lies on his back, one arm over his eyes, and sighs. Just one moment. Just one blink. And then he's asleep. No bed. No blanket. No pillow. Just the ground. The breeze. The hum of bees. And let's visit now an old woman sitting by the fire. She has finished her weaving for the day. The thread is tied off. The fabric folded. She rocks slowly in a wooden chair. The fire crackles gently. She leans her head back. Her eyes grow heavy. Her dreams are not sharp anymore. They're slow. Soft. Mostly memories. Sometimes just colors. But they come still, and they comfort her. Let us return now to the edge of the village. The light is starting to shift. Evening is coming. The long day is ending. Soon the fires will be lit. Bread will be broken. Blankets shaken out. Beds prepared. And night will come again. Sleep will begin again. First in pieces. Then in fullness. Then again in fragments between dreams. This rhythm has lasted longer than kings. Longer than towers. Longer than stone. It is older than writing. Older than maps. Older than names. It is the most ancient habit we carry. And in the Middle Ages, people gave it room to stretch. To arrive when needed. To drift when allowed. To be what it was. Sleep. Simple. Quiet. Sacred. The day has begun to exhale. Shadows grow longer. The last light of the sun turns gold. Then orange. Then soft and blue. The sky stretches like silk pulled tight. And the breeze carries the smell of firewood, bread crust and earth. And just like that, sleep begins to return. Not all at once, but in quiet signs. A child's yawn. A door gently shut. A fire being stirred and then banked. In the Middle Ages, people watched the light. That's how they knew it was time to prepare. No clocks. No alarms. Just the sun, the sky, and the hush of everything slowing down. Let us return to a weaver's home. She has spent the day twisting threads. working her loom, and breathing the dust of cloth. Now she wipes her hands with a damp cloth, blows gently on her fingertips, and begins to fold the fabric. She moves slowly. Her joints ache. She doesn't complain. She opens the window shutter just a little to let in the cool air. Then she sets her stool close to the hearth, where a bowl of broth waits. It's not hot anymore, but it's warm enough. She eats slowly, without speaking, just listening. The fire snaps gently. A spoon scrapes the edge of the wooden bowl. Her cat purrs near her feet, curling into the spot where the warmth from the coals settles low. This is evening. Simple. Still. Now let us visit a barn on the far side of the village. The stable boy is almost done with his chores. He brushes the flank of the last horse, gives it one final pat, and places the brush back on its hook. Then he steps into the loft, where a thin mattress of hay and burlap waits. He doesn't undress fully. He just removes his boots, places them neatly by the edge, and lies back. The smells are familiar. Hay, leather, animal breath, and warm dust. They are not unpleasant. They are his. He stares at the rafters overhead. A single beam of dusky light cuts through the slats. Soon, it will be dark. He pulls his cloak over his chest and lets his hands rest on his stomach. The horses stamp softly below. Their breathing is slow. He matches his to theirs, and sleep finds him quietly. Let's walk into the village center now. A few children sit on a bench beside a cook fire. Their mother ladles out soup from a hanging pot. She doesn't rush. They eat slowly. There are no distractions, no noise, no hurry. When the bowls are empty, the youngest leans her head against her sister's arm. She doesn't speak. She's not tired yet, but she knows it's close. The air feels different. That's how they know it's almost time. The quiet grows wider. Let us move now into a monastery. In the scriptorium, the last candle is being pinched out. The monk who tended the writing room today carefully places the parchment back into its case. He bows his head once before leaving the room. He does not speak. He walks through the cloister, past the well, past the chapel, to the dormitory. There he finds his narrow bed. It is just long enough for him to stretch out. Just soft enough to let the muscles eat. He kneels beside it for a moment, eyes closed. Then lies down, covers himself, and listens, to nothing. The walls hold the silence like a shell. Sleep will come soon. For monks, the day was full of division. Prayers at dawn, mid-morning, noon, mid-afternoon, sunset. But between these times they found rest. Between bells they drifted. And always, they returned to stillness. Let's go now to a cottage at the edge of a river. A fisherman sits by the window, repairing a net. His wife finishes scraping the last bits of supper into the fire. Their dog licks its paw lazily in the corner. The fire is almost out. The room is dim. They've spoken very little this evening. Not from anger, but from ease. Words are not needed. She lays out the bedding. It's not a frame but just layers of cloth laid on boards. He puts away the net. She yawns. They move slowly, as if each motion is part of the blanket, part of the quiet. Soon they lie side by side, not touching, but close. And the dog finds its usual place at their feet. The fisherman closes his eyes. Not to fall asleep, not yet, but to prepare, to float, to let go. And his breath becomes deep, even, untroubled. Now let's visit the manor. The lord and lady have retired. The fire has been banked. A servant stands nearby, waiting to dim the lantern. The room is grand. High ceilings, carved wood, thick tapestries. But it is not noisy. It holds sleep with the same care as a cottage. The curtains are drawn around the bed. The sheets are warmed. A sprig of lavender rests beneath the pillow. The servant leaves, and silence grows. The lady listens to the stillness. She does not count sheep. She does not recite words. She just listens, to the quiet, to her breathing, to the soft shifting of her husband beside her. And when the moment is right, she follows the silence into sleep. Let us return now to a young apprentice lying near the hearth of a shop. He sleeps on a cloth sack filled with old flax. It's not soft, but it's not hard either. It holds him. He turns once, then again, then stills. The fire glows faintly. His fingers twitch in a dream, but his brow is smooth. Let us not wake him. Now let's visit a group of pilgrims. They lie beneath a wooden shelter near the road. Some rest on cloaks, some on straw. One man hums a soft hymn. A woman kneels beside a small lantern, whispering a prayer. Then slowly, one by one, they all grow still. The stars blink softly overhead, and the night grows deep, and the world, once again, sleeps. The sky is dark again. Night has returned, not suddenly, not with a crash, but slowly, like a soft tide creeping into the edges of the world. The stars are not yet bright, but they wait. The air is cooler now, the wind more still. The world is breathing differently. Sleep begins to stir again. In a small cottage near the edge of the forest, a candle flickers on a low wooden table. A man stares into the flame. He has not spoken for some time, not out of sadness, not out of thought. He simply watches. He has finished his bread, washed his hands in cold water, tied a loose thread from his tunic. The fire in the hearth is nearly gone. Just a few glowing coals, breathing their last orange breath. And now, as the shadows dance on the walls, he pinches the candle wick. Darkness. He walks to his bed, not with hurry, not with delay, just the pace of someone used to the rhythm. He lies down on his mat of straw and wool. He turns once, then stills, and waits for the slow drift. Let's step outside his home now, and walk down the path. A few lights glow behind thick shutters. Some have gone out, others blink and sway with the wind. The path winds toward the center of the village. At the square, a quiet bell rings once. No reason, just a habit, a signal to some, a reminder that night is here again. Let us visit the town's healer. She's bent over a table, mixing herbs. She does not sleep early. Her eyes are sharp. Her hands move slowly. She grinds dried chamomile and valerian with a smooth stone. The scent is soft, earthy. She places the powder into small linen pouches. These are to be tucked into pillows. Good for the mind, she whispers to herself. She ties the last one with twine and places it beside the others in a wooden box. She yawns once, long and quiet. Her cat curled beneath the bench lifts its head. She smiles, touches its ear, and whispers, "Soon." Not yet. She's waiting. She'll sleep when the moon is a little higher. Let us now return to the fields. A shepherd finishes stacking his tools. He spent the last hour walking among the flock with a lantern. No wolves tonight. No trouble. Just soft hooves in grass. He leans against the wooden post and tilts his head back. The sky is wide and deep. He doesn't count the stars. He just looks. Then slowly, he returns to his hut. His bed is a thick pile of furs and straw. Warmed by his own coat, he removes his boots carefully, places a warm stone at his feet, and pulls the blanket to his chin. Outside, the sheep stir, but they do not cry. They too feel the quiet. They too understand the rhythm. Let's visit a castle now. The great hall is silent. Servants have retired. The flickering torches have been doused. In the Lord's chamber, the bed glows with the last light of the coal. The linen sheets have been turned down. The fire-warmed brick lies at the foot. The lady sits at the mirror, slowly removing her pins. Her maid watches, half asleep. The room is still. No words are needed. A prayer is whispered. A braid is undone, and sleep creeps in between each movement. In another room, lower in the castle, the kitchen servant sleeps beside the ovens. The stone still holds warmth from the day's baking. He lies on his side, wrapped in two cloaks, a hand resting on his apron. His dreams are soft. He smells flour and honey. He stirs once, then settles. Let's step now into a monastery, near the edge of the hills. The monks have completed their final prayers. They walk slowly, barefoot, to their cells. Each one has a cot, a bowl of water, a candle stub, and a wooden cross on the wall. The youngest of them kneels and whispers the same phrase he has whispered for years. Guide me through the night. Then he lies down, face turned toward the wall, hands folded, breathing calm. Sleep wraps him like a second robe. Now let's turn toward a barn. A girl rests in the hay. She has worked hard today, milking, hauling, washing. But now her hands are still. Her eyes blink slowly. She whispers the names of each of the cows to herself, just their names, like a prayer, and then silence. The cows snort softly, the barn owl hoots once, and she sleeps. Let's walk now through the village once more. The paths are empty, the sky is fully dark, but in a house near the mill, an old man stirs. He wakes not from a dream, but from habit. This is the space between first and second sleep. He rises slowly, places a log onto the fire. He doesn't light a candle. He knows the way. He steps outside. The night air is crisp. He looks up at the stars, and simply stands, breathing, thinking of nothing, being part of the dark. Then, after a while he returns, climbs into bed, and lets the second sleep begin. Across the land, similar things happen. Someone wakes to stir the coals. Someone rises to pray. Someone reaches for a warm brick that has grown cold. Then all of them lie back down and fall once again into the soft pull of night. The stars are high now. The second sleep has begun. Across the land, homes are silent. The wind slips through trees and touches rooftops. A few clouds drift over the moon, and everywhere, people lie still, wrapped in wool, curled beneath straw, resting on wood and woven mats. Time feels slower here, like it has settled in for the night too. Let's begin this part of our journey with a woman who can't sleep. She lies on her side, staring at the beam of wood above her. It creaks softly in the wind. She's not afraid, she's not anxious, she just isn't sleepy. Sometimes that happens. She sits up quietly. She doesn't light a candle, she doesn't call anyone. She simply stands, wraps a shawl over her shoulders, and steps outside. The ground is cool beneath her feet. The stones still hold the warmth of the day. She walks slowly through her garden, touching the tops of the herbs with her fingers. Lavender, thyme, yarrow, they all release their scent into the air. As her hand brushes past, she breathes in. This is enough. After a while, she returns to her bed. She doesn't know when she falls asleep, but she does, and that's all that matters. Let us now visit a young boy sleeping beside a church. His family is poor. They've been allowed to sleep in the stable behind the stone wall. The priest gave them permission, a kindness. His mother lies beside him on a pile of cloth. She has wrapped him in her shawl. He has tucked his head beneath her chin, his fingers around a carved wooden toy. He dreams. He dreams of bells ringing, of climbing a tree and reaching the sky, of bread dipped in honey. His sleep is deep, because his body is tired, but also because his heart feels safe. Even in the straw, even beneath old cloaks, safety makes good sleep. Let's step now into a monastery garden. The moonlight touches the tops of the plants. A small path winds between rows of lavender, sage, and roses. A monk walks here sometimes during the in-between hours. Not always, but sometimes he has no candle, no reason, just a need to feel the air. He walks slowly. He listens to the gravel beneath his feet. He pauses at the rosebush and smells a flower, then continues. This is not prayer, not duty, just quiet. And soon he returns to his cell and sleeps again. The garden holds no memory of him, but his soul feels lighter. Now let's travel to a farmhouse on the hill. A child cries out in her sleep. Her mother wakes, sits up and reaches for her. She places a hand on the girl's head. She's not sick, just dreaming. The mother hums softly, an old lullaby. Nothing with words, just notes, long and low. The kind that wrap around you like a warm shawl. The girl quiets. The mother lies down again, and both sleep. Let's now sit beside a knight. He lies on his back in a stone chamber. His armor rests in the corner. His sword leans against the wall. He has no battles tomorrow. No travel. No ceremony. Just the night. He stares at the ceiling. He thinks of a lake he once saw, so still it reflected the sky like glass. He remembers the sound of the birds. He falls asleep with that sound in his mind. No dreams of war tonight. Only peace. Only water. Only stillness. Let us now return to a cottage kitchen. The fire is low. A pot of water still simmers quietly on the edge. It has boiled down to steam and scent. Chamomile. Mint. A bit of crushed apple peel. The scent fills the room. In the corner, a woman sleeps in a chair. She didn't mean to. She was just waiting for the pot to cool. But her head tilted. Her hands folded and her body let go. Her breath is slow. Her sleep is full. The cup she meant to pour remains empty. But that doesn't matter now. Sleep has come without the herbs. Let's walk to a small hut in the woods. A hunter rests on a mat of pine needles. He sleeps under a thin roof of bark and canvas. His dog lies curled beside him, ears twitching in dream. The hunter has built a fire, but let it fade. He likes the darkness. He says it's softer than firelight. He sleeps with a knife under his hand. Not from fear, just habit. But tonight he dreams of home, of sitting by the hearth with his father, of the creak of the wooden chair, of the smell of stew. He smiles in his sleep. His fingers twitch once, then still. Now let's visit a scholar. He has fallen asleep at his desk. The parchment beneath his head is covered in words. A half-written line trails off at the edge. His candle is still lit, but the flame flickers low. His breath moves the feather of his quill. His dreams are full of letters, of words that shape themselves into things, of books that sing when opened, of ink that glows. His mind never rests completely, but his body is still, and sleep holds him, awkward and perfect. Let us return now to a miller's house. The mill has stopped. The stones are silent. The wheel is still. Inside, the house is quiet. The miller and his wife sleep in a bed near the wall. Their daughter sleeps beside the hearth. The flour dust on her cheeks glows faintly in the moonlight. She holds a wooden spoon like a doll. She will not remember her dream, but she will wake rested and ready to stir the pot once again. Let's step back outside. The air is cold now. The moon has passed its highest point. The land is quiet. This is the middle of the second sleep, and the world is in its deepest breath. Even the owls are silent, even the rivers slow. And in this stillness, there is peace. And in that peace, the night continues. And sleep, old and wide, covers the land once again. The second sleep is halfway through. The stars above are steady. The moon has turned toward the far edge of the sky. The wind, once soft, has stilled completely, and still the world rests. It is a soft pause before the earliest stirrings of morning, a time when dreams are deepest, and everything that breathes does so slowly. In a cottage near the orchard, an old man lies on a cot beside the fire. He slept in this same spot for over 40 years. The stones in the floor have the shape of his steps worn into them. The wooden beam above his bed has his initials carved faintly near the corner. He does not dream tonight. He is too tired, but not in a painful way. His body is simply quiet. His thoughts are not moving. He lies there with one hand resting on his chest, rising and falling gently. The second sleep holds him like the tide holds a shell. Let us move now to a more distant place. A roadside chapel, half covered in moss. The doors are closed, but not locked. Inside, a traveler sleeps on the stone floor. He found shelter here after walking all day. He didn't ask permission, but he lit a candle. He whispered a prayer. He folded his cloak beneath his head and lay down in the shadow of the altar. Now he sleeps. A draft rolls through the stone space, but he doesn't stir. His dreams are warm. He dreams of his childhood field, of walking barefoot in tall grass, reaching for clouds he could never quite catch. It's a kind of peace only found in sleep, a kind that can't be chased, only received. Now let's walk into the high chamber of a noble family. The fire has gone cold, but the thick drapes have held the warmth in. The children lie together in one bed. 2 girls. 1 boy. They are close in age. They breathe in a shared rhythm. Their dreams are quieter than usual tonight. Perhaps the air is heavier. Perhaps the sky is watching. Beside them, the nanny dozes in a chair. Her feet are up on a stool. Her fingers loosely knotted around a rosary. The beads move slightly as she sleeps. Each movement is part of a deeper stillness. She will wake at dawn to light the coals again, but not yet. Let's turn now toward a farm on the edge of a wide pasture. In the loft above the barn, 2 brothers sleep in a pile of blanket. The younger one talks in his sleep. Just short, quiet words. The elder doesn't wake. He's used to it. Instead, he rolls toward the wall and tucks his feet tighter under the wool. Below, the oxen stir in their stalls. One shakes its head. Another coughs. But the boys don't wake. Not tonight. Sleep here is strong. The day's work has made sure of that. Now let us visit a convent. The sisters rise at midnight for prayer, but some don't return to bed right away. One lingers in the chapel. She lights another candle and opens a book. She reads slowly, lips moving soundlessly, not studying, just being near the words. She does this often. No one asks why. Some things don't need explaining. After a while, she closes the book, blows out the candle, and walks silently to her chamber. Her bed is thin, her pillow flat. She lies down, folds her hands, and lets the second sleep return. Let's walk now along the coast. The tide is low. The sea has gone quiet. A fisherman and his wife sleep in their small wooden house, the windows shuttered tight against the salt wind. She dreams of shells. He dreams of nets full of silver fish. Their dreams cross for a moment, and then part again, each flowing in its own stream. In the corner, a dog lies with its nose beneath its paw, and outside the waves tap gently against the shore. Let us sit now with a tan. He lies on a mat, near his curing racks. The smell is strong. Leather, lime, smoke. But he's used to it. His hands are wrapped in cloth. He hurt his knuckle 2 days ago, but tonight it doesn't throb. Tonight he sleeps, dreamless, just the gentle dark behind his eye. Now let's walk into a scholar's house. He doesn't sleep in a bed. He prefers a bench near the window. He lies with a cloak under his head, a book beside him. Sometimes, he wakes in the second sleep and writes a thought down. But tonight, there are no thoughts, only warmth, only stillness, only sleep. Let's walk through the woods now. The leaves rustle, the trees creak, but there is no fear here. A girl and her grandmother sleep in a wagon. They're traveling. The wagon is lined with straw, and the old woman has draped a shawl over the girl's shoulders. The girl clutches a pouch of herbs in her hand. She made it herself, filled it with rosemary, sage, and dried orange peel. She said it would help her sleep sweet. And it has. Her breath is even. Her dreams are of feathers and rivers and soft light. The old woman stirs once, listens, then settles. The night wraps around them like an old friend. Let's end here, with the land completely still. The second sleep has deepened. The coals are low. The shutters do not move. Even the mice beneath the floorboards are quiet. It is the moment just before morning begins. A pause, a breath, a gift, and sleep holds the world for just a little longer. The night is almost finished, but not yet. The second sleep holds on gently, like the last note of a lullaby drifting on the air. The world is not moving yet. The stars are still out. The wind has returned. Just a little, enough to stir the smoke from chimneys and ripple the pond beside the mill. And inside, people remain in their deepest dreams. In a quiet stone house at the center of a village, a woman stirs beneath her blanket. She does not open her eyes. She turns to her other side. Her breath is slow. The wool of the blanket tickles her cheek. The air is cool against her fingertips. She knows there is still time to sleep. And so she does. Let us now visit the upper floor of a merchant's home. The bedroom is lit by the faintest silver light through cracks in the shutters. A husband and wife lie back to back, both asleep. Their dreams do not match. He dreams of numbers and ships. She dreams of figs and a market full of silk. Neither of them will remember the dreams exactly, but both will wake feeling whole. In the room beside them, their daughter whispers softly in her sleep. She is telling a story to no one, or maybe to herself. Her words make no sense, but they are full of rhythm. She smiles in her sleep, then turns onto her stomach, and the whispering stops. Sleep in this hour is thick, heavy, safe. Let us walk now to the edge of the village. A cooper, a man who makes barrels, sleeps with his feet near the hearth. His head rests on a sack of sawdust. He never wanted a pillow. He said it made his neck hurt. He sleeps with one hand tucked under his belt. He does not dream often, but tonight he sees an image of a single tree. Tall, straight, its bark smooth as wax. It stands in a field of snow, untouched. He does not understand it, but it makes him feel calm. He will forget it by morning, but the feeling will remain. Let us visit now. A traveling midwife. She rests in a small guest room beside a pregnant woman, who sleeps finally, after a long evening of pain. The midwife has not slept yet. She listens for the breathing, watches the chest rise and fall, watches the hands lie still. She does not need a bed, just a stool, just a place to sit, a space for the body to soften. She lets her head lean against the doorframe, and closes her eyes. A dream catches her. It is a candle being lit in the dark. That's all. But it is enough. Let us move now to a kitchen. The fire is still faintly alive. A cat sleeps on the hearthstone. A boy, maybe 10 years old, lies nearby. He had been helping his mother dry herbs. He fell asleep waiting for her to finish. She didn't wake him. She just placed a folded cloth beneath his head, and tucked a cloak around his shoulders. Now he breathes with the rhythm of the flame. His dreams are full of warm bread and running barefoot through tall grass. He kicks once in his sleep, then goes still. Let's walk toward the woods now. A small family sleeps inside a wagon. Their bedding is packed tightly, blankets layered, their heads resting against satchels and bundles. A father, mother, and their young son. The father dreams of his own childhood, walking beside his mother on a summer path. The mother dreams of water, slow rivers, calm lakes. The child dreams of nothing, just stillness. The wheels creak once in the wind, then go quiet again. This kind of sleep together, close, without worry, is not easy to find. But tonight they have it. Let's visit a guard walking the wall of a town gate. He's alone. He carries a torch. He walks slowly, listening to the night. There is no danger, just cold stone beneath his boots. He hears the distant sound of someone coughing, a baby crying, an owl calling. He smiles faintly. He knows the town is safe. Soon his shift will end. He will sleep in a small corner near the fire, using his cloak as a pillow. He will sleep deeply, because he has earned it. Now let us step into a farmhouse. The wife wakes slightly. She doesn't know why. She just sits up and listens. The coals in the hearth are still warm. She touches the clay pot at the edge of the fire. It is cool now. She stands, adds a piece of wood, and watches it catch. The glow returns to the room. She sits in her chair. She will not sleep again yet. She just sits, watching the fire, thinking of nothing. The world is quiet. Her hands are warm. That is enough. Let us visit a monastery again. The dormitory is still, but one of the monks lies awake, not restless, just aware. He traces the wooden edge of his rosary beads with his fingers. He breathes in and out. He has no thoughts. He just listens, to his breath, to the stillness, to the soft creak of a floorboard, far away. Sleep will come again soon. But this moment, in between, is holy. Let us return to a small cottage. A mother and her 2 daughters sleep in a shared bed. The older girl dreams of dancing in a long hall. The younger dreams of spinning in circles beneath a sky full of stars. The mother dreams of her husband, who passed 5 winters ago. He is building something in her dream. She doesn't know what, but she sits beside him and watches. The moment is warm, peaceful. She sighs in her sleep, and turns her face toward the window, where just the faintest trace of blue begins to press through the shutters. Morning hasn't come, but it is close. You can feel it in the way the dark begins to change. The stars haven't faded yet, but the sky looks different, softer, less deep, like it's thinking of waking up. The second sleep is still wrapped around the world, but here and there it loosens, like the edge of a blanket slipping down a shoulder. Let us return to the village once more. In the baker's house, the man stirs, not from a dream, not from a sound, but from habit. His body has been doing this for years, waking just before dawn, to prepare the ovens. He swings his feet onto the floor. It's cold. He wraps a cloth shawl around his shoulders, lights a taper, and moves toward the kitchen. His wife sleeps still. She will wake later, when the bread is already rising. He smiles. The room is quiet. He doesn't speak. He just moves through his familiar rhythm. The second sleep ends here. Not with a jolt, not with noise, but with simple purpose. Now let us step into a house beside the well. The girl here has been dreaming of snow. She doesn't know why. It's summer, but in her dream the snow is warm. She runs through it barefoot. The wind is blue, and the snow tastes sweet. She stirs slightly, turns, smiles, and the dream dissolves. But she stays in sleep a little longer, wrapped in her own breath and warmth. Let's walk quietly now into a watchman's tower. The other guard takes over, his steps soft on the stone stairs. The one finishing his shift stretches, yawns and nods. He doesn't speak. He descends slowly, folds his cloak over his shoulder, and slips into the bunk beside the fire. The warmth of the coals meets him like a familiar hand. He does not stay awake long. Sleep returns quickly. A shorter third sleep before the light arrives. Let us now walk to a sheepfold, just beyond the main road. The shepherd's daughter has been awake since the moon was overhead. She couldn't sleep. Her mind was too loud. She crept outside without waking anyone. And now she stands beside the sheep pen, watching her breath in the cold. She hums softly. Not a song, just a sound she likes. A little rhythm. Something to keep her company. After a while her thoughts stop spinning. She yawns. She walks back inside. And this time when she lies down, sleep arrives easily. Sometimes you need to greet the night before it lets you rest. Let's visit a cobbler's home. The man has been dreaming of shoes. Not strange ones. Just dozens of them. All lined up in rows, walking by themselves. He laughs in his sleep. It wakes him for a moment. He opens one eye, then the other. He looks around, sees the shadows, and settles back under the blanket. His wife hasn't moved. She's dreaming of fields and music. He touches her shoulder once, gently, not to wake her, just to feel something real. Then his eyes close again, and the last hour of sleep comes over him. Let us visit a noble home near the river. A maid tends the fire. She has risen early to prepare the water for the ladies' washing. She moves softly across the floor. Outside the window, the first pale color of day has begun to stretch across the clouds. A very soft pink. Inside, the lady sleeps on a bed of down and linen. One arm is above her head. Her lips are slightly parted. She dreams of a hall of mirrors and candles that float. She is dancing, alone, but smiling. The maid finishes her task and watches her for a moment. Then she leaves. Let us travel now to a hunter's hut in the woods. The man has just opened his eyes. His dog is already awake, tail thumping softly against the floor. The hunter stretches, scratches his beard, and sighs. He does not speak. He does not rise yet. He simply lies there, listening to birds just beginning to sing, to branches creaking overhead, to the sound of the stream nearby. Then he closes his eyes for just a moment longer. One more breath of sleep before the world begins again. Let's walk to a classroom, a small stone building behind the chapel. The teacher is already awake, sorting through worn parchments. His apprentice, a thin boy, still sleeps beside the stove. He curled up on the floor with his arms tucked beneath his cloak. The teacher looks at him and smiles. No need to wake him yet. Let the boy sleep a little longer. The world will ask enough of him soon. Now let's visit a healer. She's been up since the stars still shone. Grinding herbs, folding cloth, preparing her satchel. Today she walks to the next village to tend a birth, but now, she sits in her doorway with a cup of warm water. Her apprentice still sleeps inside. She listens to the night preparing to end, the hush before the light. She breathes it in like perfume. Sleep is over for her. But she honors its leaving. Let's return to the convent. The sisters rise quietly. Each folds her blanket. Each washes her hands. Each lights her candle. There is no speaking, just motion, just rhythm. Their second sleep has ended, but the peace lingers. Even as they begin their day, let us now walk through the streets. More windows open, more fires are stirred, more feet touch the floor, and the village begins to wake. But some still sleep. A few hold tight to their last dreams, of rain on stone, of wool being spun, of rivers without bridges, of birds without wings. Soon they will open their eyes. But not yet. Let them sleep. Let the second sleep end gently. Let the day arrive slowly. There is still time. The light has changed. It's no longer silver, or blue, or black. It's something softer, warmer. The kind of color you see behind closed eyelids when the sun is just beginning to rise. It is dawn, but not quite day, and all across the land, sleep begins to lift like a fog on the fields. Slowly, quietly, without force. In a baker's home, the dough has already begun to rise. He moves about the kitchen without speaking. He has lit the fire. Flour dust drifts in the air. His hands press and shape. The day has started, but gently. Outside, a boy runs across the lane, carrying a pail. He is barefoot. He yawns while walking. He slept through second sleep, all the way to the edge of morning. His hair is still tousled, but there's a little smile on his lips. He knows it's going to be a good day. Let us return to the farmer's home on the hill. The man stirs in bed. He opens one eye, listens. The rooster has not yet crowed, but he hears the soft shifting of his daughter getting dressed in the next room. He stretches his feet. The straw mattress crackles gently beneath him. He takes one slow breath, then rises. His wife remains asleep, curled into the curve of the blanket. He walks quietly, pours a ladle of water from the jug into a bowl, washes his face. The cold wakes him fully, but not harshly. There is a peace in this routine, a softness. It has always been this way. Now let us walk to the fields. Mist hovers over the grass. The sheep bleat faintly in the distance. A shepherd ties his belt and walks toward them. His dog trots ahead, tail high. He carries a bit of bread in his hand. He eats it slowly as he walks. It tastes like ash and salt, but he likes it. His boots leave prints in the dew. His thoughts are quiet. The day has begun, but not loudly. Let us step into a small weaver's home. The woman is already at her loom. The shuttle moves gently. She has risen early, not from duty but from desire. She likes to work in the stillness. The rhythm soothes her mind. Her daughter sleeps in the corner. Her son sleeps curled up beside the dog. They will wake soon, but not yet. Let them have a little more of the soft hour. Let them keep their dreams. Let us now visit a monastery. The bell has rung. The first light service has begun. The monks file into the chapel, barefoot, silent, their eyes still heavy with sleep, but their hearts at peace. Each lights a small taper. Each bows their head. The second sleep has ended completely here, but in its place comes prayer, which is its own kind of rest. Now let's walk back to the village square. A woman sweeps the stones outside her home. The broom makes soft scraping sound. She doesn't rush. She watches the way the dust moves. She watches the sunrise glow on the windows. Her neighbor opens a shutter and nods. No words, just a nod. A shared moment in the morning. Let's step into a teacher's home. He reads quietly, holding the book near the window. His apprentice stirs beside the hearth. The boy yawns, blinks and smiles when he sees the teacher is already awake. They don't speak. But the boy begins to sit up, rubs his eyes, stretches his fingers. He slept well, and now, the day can begin. Let us now visit a blacksmith. He is standing outside, sharpening a blade. He has not lit the forge yet. He likes to begin with his hands first. Muscle before fire. He hums softly to himself. It is a song from his childhood. He doesn't remember all the words, but the sound stays with him. His wife steps outside with a cup of warm broth. She hands it to him, and returns inside. He doesn't thank her. He doesn't need to. They've done this every morning for years. The warmth spreads through his chest. The edge of sleep is gone now, but the peace remains. Let's return to a noble home. The lady rises slowly. She sits on the edge of the bed, eyes closed. She is not tired. She just doesn't want to rush. The servant enters with a pitcher of warm water and a cloth. The lady smiles faintly. The servant bows. They move quietly. The lady's dream lingers in her mind. Of rivers flowing uphill. She does not understand it. She does not need to. She just lets it fade, as she presses the warm cloth to her face. Let us now return to a convent garden. The sisters are already gathering herbs. Their fingers brush dew from the leaves. They speak only when needed, but their presence is full of calm. A young novice lifts a sprig of rosemary and breathes in. She smiles, then continues picking. There is work to do, but no one is hurried. The world is still stretching, still yawning, still waking. Now let us visit a barn at the far edge of town. A stable hand brushes a horse. The animal exhales loudly, shaking its head. The boy pats its neck and whispers, "Good morning." He always says that. Even though the horse never answers, he believes it matters. And maybe it does. In the loft, another boy still sleeps, face down, arms spread. He will be late, but the stable hand doesn't wake him. Let him have a few more minutes. There's always time for kindness. Let's end this part in a quiet chapel. The sun finally touches the windows. Not fully, just the edge. The colored glass begins to glow. No one is inside, but the light rests gently on the stone floor, like a hand on a shoulder. The world is awake now, but gently. Nothing loud, nothing rushed. Just one breath, and another, and the memory of the night, of strange dreams, of warm straw, of soft sleep, lingers in the corners of each room, like the last curl of smoke from a candle just blown out. The second sleep is over. The day has begun, and everything moves forward in peace. The day has begun, not loudly, not all at once, but slowly, like a candle that's only just been lit. Flickering, warming, casting its first soft shadows. The sleep is ending, but the peace remains. In a small cottage on the edge of the village, a grandmother ties her hair back and begins to stir the fire. She moves with care. The coals have not fully gone out. She adds a few twigs, some dried moss, and waits. As the flames rise, she hums, the same tune she hums every morning. No one taught her this song. She made it up, years ago without thinking. And now it lives in her hands and her breath. Her granddaughter stirs in the next room, but she doesn't call to her. Let the child wake on her own. There is no hurry. Let us step into a shoemaker's home. The man has already laid out the tools for the day. They sit on the table beside the window, where the light will soon reach. His apprentice snores faintly on a mat near the door. The master doesn't wake him. He sharpens a knife slowly, wiping the blade with a cloth in steady circles. His dreams last night were quiet ones. He doesn't remember the shape of them, only that they made him feel still inside. He likes that. He believes that how you sleep changes how you work. He once said, "Tired sleep makes crooked shoes." Let's visit the village square. A few people have gathered. A cart is being loaded with sacks of flour. Someone sweeps near the well. A dog barks once and runs past. No one rushes. No one calls out. There's still a softness in the air. The kind that stays only for a little while after the world wakes up. Let's walk past the tavern. The door is open, but the benches are empty. A young woman scrubs the floor, humming a tune with no word. Her brother carries out a pail of old ashes. Their father counts coins on a wooden board. They've been awake since first light, but even now they move gently. No need to disturb what remains of the morning calm. Let's step into a home where a woman sits spinning wool. Her wheel turns slowly. She holds a rhythm in her hand. Not fast, not slow, just steady. Her husband chops kindling outside. Their son watches from the doorway, eyes still heavy with sleep. He clutches a cloth doll. His mother looks at him, smiles, and says, "It's early still." He nods and sits on the threshold, blinking into the light. The rooster calls, but the world does not jump. It just continues breathing. Let us visit a convent garden. A sister kneels to water a row of herbs. The air is cool. The sun is still behind the trees. She dips the pitcher into a barrel and tips it carefully over the soil. She speaks to each plant in a whisper. Not words, just kindness. She believes they sleep lightly in the early hours, and that it's best not to startle them. Let's now walk to the edge of the forest. A woodcutter stretches beneath an oak tree. He didn't wake to the first light, but he is awake now. He rolls his shoulders, yawns once, and opens a cloth bundle to reveal some bread and onion. His dog sits beside him, tail sweeping the dirt. They will walk deeper into the woods soon, but for now they sit and eat. The sun catches the tops of the trees. The breeze begins to stir the leaves. Let's visit a castle. The servants are preparing the halls. One sweeps the corridor with long strokes. Another arranges candles along the wall. In the kitchen, pots clang gently. In the scullery, cloths are wrung and hung. A page yawns as he tightens his belt. The Lord is still in bed. He rises later, but those around him are already in motion. They move quietly, the kind of quiet that comes from repetition, not fear. Each task is known, each gesture practiced. Let us walk to a field. The morning mist is lifting. Two sisters collect eggs from a coop, placing them into a basket lined with straw. One of them carries a small wooden doll in the pocket of her apron. She says it likes to help. They laugh quietly, trying not to wake the cows. Let them sleep a bit longer. They'll come when they're ready. Let's visit the blacksmith's shop. The forge has been lit. The coals are glowing now. He hasn't struck the iron yet, only warmed the tools. He sips from a cup of thin broth, then sets it down on a stone shelf. The apprentice enters, brushing hay from his hair. They nod at each other. They don't speak. The morning doesn't need words. Let us return to the healer's cottage. She writes something in a little book. A note about a child's cough. A mixture that worked. A date. She sips from a wooden cup and looks out the window. The sky is clear. She slept only once last night. No first and second sleep. Just one long, heavy slumber. She wonders if that means something. But she doesn't press the thought. She lets it float away. Let's walk down a path near the stream. A monk walks slowly, holding a basket. He's gathering berries. He touches each one carefully before picking it. His sandals leave faint tracks in the dew. He pauses often, to look at a tree, to feel the wind, to hear the birds. He believes the hours after sleep are sacred. The soul still remembers what it saw in dreams. So he listens. Let us step into a barn. A child ties a ribbon into a goat's hair. She whispers, "You're the queen now." The goat doesn't seem to mind. A rooster hops down from its perch. The morning has come here too. The girl's brother enters, still rubbing his eye. She hands him a slice of bread and says, "You missed the coronation." He smiles. Another day has begun. Let us walk one last time across the village. The smoke rises from chimneys. Chickens scratch in the dust. Boots step across stone. Laughter drifts from an open window. A lullaby hum still echoes faintly in someone's memory. And everywhere, the sleep has lifted. The second sleep is over. But the peace, the stillness, the kindness of the night has not vanished. It remains in the way people move, in the way they carry water, in the way they hold their bread, in the way they smile when no one is looking. The sleep is gone, but its memory lingers. And that is enough. The sun is rising fully now. Its light no longer soft and Now it pours across the rooftops, down the cobbled streets, over the fields and through the narrow windows of sleeping chambers and workrooms alike. The world is fully awake. But let's look closer. There's still something of the night lingering in the corners, in the way people move, in the quiet they carry with them. It hasn't gone yet. And some still sleep. Let us begin in a small stone house, the last one on the village path. Inside, an elderly woman lies in bed. She woke once before dawn, then went back to sleep. Now she sleeps again. Not deeply, not dreamlessly, just gently. The sounds of day are around her, footsteps, voices, the clang of a pot, but they do not pull her from sleep. She floats in that final pocket of rest, that last little stretch before the body must move again. And in her dream, she walks through an orchard. It is spring. There are no people there, just wind and blossoms and her own breath. Let us visit the bell tower. The monk who rings the morning bell has not yet done so. He sits on the step with his eyes closed. He was late rising, a rare thing for him. But he does not rush. He holds the rope loosely in his hands, breathes in the morning air, and listens to the village waking beneath him. He will ring the bell in a moment. But for now he waits, still caught in that gentle veil between sleep and dew. Let us visit a shepherd lying in the grass, his flock still nestled among the hills. He leans against a low stone wall, arms folded, head tilted to one side. His dog dozes beside him. He has already walked the field once. Now he rests again, not asleep, but not quite awake either. His eyes are open, but his thoughts are somewhere else, somewhere still inside the night. He remembers his dream, a boat with no sails drifting across a sky with no stars. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't act. He simply carries the feeling with him like a warm stone in his pocket. Let us return to the market lane. A boy sleeps in the hay cart. He was meant to carry apples to the square, but the sun felt too good. He curled up and let himself doze. His father finds him, smiles, and says nothing. He lifts the first basket himself, leaving the boy to sleep a little longer. After all, there's still time. Let's walk into a candle maker's shop. The wax is being melted. The wick is being cut. The girl who tends the shop hums as she works, but in the back room, her brother still lies asleep on a blanket. He worked late last night, helping prepare orders for a festival. Now he sleeps with his arm over his eyes, blocking out the light. She lets him rest. The candles don't mind, and the morning is still young. Let us walk to a quiet chapel. A scribe sits at a desk near the window. He has already copied a full page this morning, a psalm in slow brown ink, with careful lettering. But now he rests his pen. He looks out at the sky, and in his mind he hears a line from a dream he had. A voice saying, "What grows in silence, grows strong." He doesn't know if it came from the psalm, or the dream, or both. But it stays with him, and he writes it in the margin before continuing. Let's go to the riverbank. A woman washes linens at the edge of the stream. She works in silence. Her daughter lies nearby on a blanket of rushes, still asleep. The child's fingers twitch in her sleep. Perhaps she's dreaming of running or dancing. The woman watches her for a moment, then goes back to rinsing the cloth. The current is slow today. Let us visit the edge of the woods. A trapper sits with his back against a tree. His eyes are closed. He has not slept well lately, but this morning after setting his lines and walking the edge of the stream, he sat down and drifted off. Now he dreams of snow, quiet, endless snow falling in a silent forest. He wakes slowly, blinking against the light. He rubs his face and smiles. Sometimes the best sleep doesn't come at night. Let's walk to a tower in a noble estate. The maid who cleans the study has fallen asleep in the chair. She came early to dust the tapestries, but the warmth of the rising sun caught her by surprise. She curled up with her apron as a pillow, and now she sleeps. The Lord's daughter finds her and does not wake her. She closes the door gently and walks away. Sleep is a gift, and there is no need to interrupt it when it finally arrives. Let's return to a bakery. The oven is full. The loaves are nearly done. The baker's son sits near the window, watching the village come to life. He is quiet. He did not sleep well last night. Too many thoughts. But now as he watches the lights stretch across the street, he begins to feel sleepy. He leans his head against the wall, lets his eyes close and rest. The morning can wait. Let us now walk into a stable. A woman brushes a horse, humming a lullaby, the same one she used to sing to her child. The horse turns its head and nuzzles her. In the loft, a young man sleeps beside a sack of grain. He came in late last night, after walking from the next village. No one heard him arrive, but the hay was warm and the air was kind. And now he sleeps softly. Let us visit a healer who has finally returned home. She worked all night, delivered a child in the candlelight of a stone cottage. Now she lies on her own bed, shoes still on, hands still dusty with ash and herbs. She doesn't dream, she simply lets her body go still. The light plays across her face. She doesn't notice, she is beyond noticing. Let us end here. In a high room in a tower, a musician tunes a lyre. The strings hum softly in the golden light. He looks out the window. Below, the village pulses gently with life. Above, the clouds move like quiet thoughts across the sky. And within, he remembers a dream, a song sung by the stars. He begins to play, not for anyone, not even for himself, just because the morning still holds some piece of the night. And music can carry it a little longer. The morning is no longer new. It is real now, firm, awake. And yet, even now, something of the night remains. You can see it in the way the baker's apron hangs loosely at his side, in the way the old monk pauses before stepping into sunlight, in the way a boy picks up his wooden toy, turns it in his hands, and forgets why. There's a hush that lingers, not loud, not long, but enough to remind you that not all sleep ends with the body. Some of it clings to the edges of the day, like mist clinging to grass, just after dawn. Let us visit one final cottage. Inside, a woman kneels before the hearth, brushing ashes into a pan. She's been awake for an hour, but her body still moves slowly. Her sleep was deep, filled with strange dreams of flying pigs, and ladders that led nowhere. She doesn't tell anyone, but the dreams stay in her eyes as she moves. Her husband enters, carrying a pail of water. They knock. No need to speak. They've had mornings like this for 20 years. She offers him a cup. He drinks. Outside, the sun reaches the roof. Inside, the coals begin to glow. Let us walk once more through the village. The carpenter hammers gently. The dog scratches at a door. Children call to one another in quiet tones, not yet shouting. An old man sweeps dust from his step, pausing every few strokes to look up at the sky. In the monastery, the scribe writes slowly. He copies the word peace 3 times before continuing the sentence. He doesn't know why, it just felt right. Let's visit the marketplace. A woman sets out apples in rows. Red, yellow, green. She hums to herself. It is a tune her mother used to sing when she worked in the garden. The market isn't busy, just a few people moving, smiling faintly, letting the day begin in small pieces. No rush, no sharpness, only softness. Let's go to the fields one last time. A girl walks barefoot across the furrows, gathering herbs in her apron. She pauses to smell each one. Thyme, mint, lavender. The scents stay in her hair, in her fingers. She slept well last night. She remembers her dream. A long table, covered in bread and all her family laughing around it. Even the ones who had passed. She carries that feeling into the field. It makes her walk slowly, like she's afraid to spill it. Let us now return to a castle's courtyard. The Lord stands in his robe, arms folded. He did not sleep well. His dreams were troubled. Fires, arguments, broken swords. But he says nothing. He simply watches the morning unfold. The kitchen boys carry bread from the oven. The steward checks the list. A goose waddles through a patch of flowers, flapping once. The day continues, and the night fades, slowly, respectfully. Let us visit a boy sitting at a stream. He's meant to be collecting water, but instead he sits, watches his reflection in the surface. His eyes look older than they did yesterday. He doesn't know why. He slept with his head on the floor, blanket curled beneath his chin. He dreamed of a boat drifting through, and when he woke, he remembered the boat, but not the journey. He picks up a pebble, drops it in the stream, then stands, and walks back home. Let's pause beside a spinning wheel. The woman here turns the wool carefully, watching the thread tighten, then release. She's thinking about a dream she had, a mountain made of honey. She laughs quietly to herself, then continues spinning. Let's step inside a church. The candles have burned low. The light through the window is enough now. A sister kneels at the front pew. She whispers something, maybe a prayer, maybe a name, then sits back. She did not sleep much last night. But here in the stillness, she finds a different kind of rest. Let's stop at the edge of the woods. The wind moves through the trees, gentle and full. A man walks the path, basket in hand. He's gathering mushrooms. He dreams while awake, remembering a girl he once loved, a song he once sang. He hums it now, letting it carry on the breeze. He doesn't notice the bird that follows him. He just walks, and the path walks with him. Let us now walk beyond the village, into the high hills, where a shepherd rests with her flock. She leans against a boulder, looking at the sky. She hasn't spoken all day. There's no need. The sheep are quiet. The clouds are slow. The sun moves steadily toward me, and the memory of her second sleep, warm, soft, unhurried, still lives in her bones. She smiles, says nothing, and watches the world breathe. Let us end here. In a quiet room, a bed, a blanket, a window with light creeping across the floors. A person, maybe you, eyes closed, body still, mind floating. You've heard the whole story now, of how medieval people slept. And why, of their two sleeps, first and second. Of their dreams and herbs and wool, and warmth. Of shared beds, sleepy dawns, humming mouths, and hands washed in silence. You've walked with them, through the darkness, stood beside their fires, listened to their breathing, and now, maybe your breathing is slower too. If you are still awake, then I think you have to see the video from 17th minute of the story. Or play this side video, as maybe it can help you sleep better.